All right. First question, again, these aren't really that hard, but briefly, and the more it can be kind of a, from the heart kind of answer, why run for judge? Were you encouraged by someone else? Did a light bulb go off in your head? What happened that you said, you know what, I'm going to get up and run for judge?
Well, I wanted to be a judge for about 10 years, but I had a big case pending against Ford Motor Company.
His microphone's not working.
You just have to kind of go right into it.
Okay. I had a big case pending against Ford Motor Company. I represented 3,600 dealers in the country. I couldn't leave that case and do anything else. That case ended in May. So that was the first thing that freed me up. Second thing that freed me up is my youngest daughter went off to college, so we're empty nesters now. That freed me up. Got money in the bank. That freed me up. My wife said, okay. That freed me up. So, people say, well, God told me to run. I always wonder when people say that, but circumstances the cards just lined up. And like I say, I wanted to be a judge for 10 years anyway, and this was like a perfect opportunity, and everything was in place, so that's why I decided to run.
And why this particular position?
Because Judge Rush, who I'm running against, needs to go. I don't know any better way to put that. He's got a 38% approval rating by the bar. He has a 58% reversal record in the last 12 appeals at the Court of Appeals. And he's been doing this for 20 years. I'm a big fan of term limits for every government position. He's been doing it actually for 25 years if you count his time on the county court. So I think it's just time to have a new judge in that bench.
Okay. Now, again, just briefly, what work experience have you had that prepares you for this particular court?
Well, I've been a trial and appellate lawyer for 29 years. I've done all three types of cases that this court hears: criminal, family, and civil. I also do appellate work, which sounds like, well, I'm not running for a court of appeals like Judge Oldner is. But Judge Oldham will tell you, if you ask him, that doing appellate work is where the real law happens on a very deep level. And I've done 40 appeals, and 8 of them have gone all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court on issues that are very much near and dear to the hearts of everybody in this room: First Amendment, Second Amendment right to bear arms, Fourth Amendment search and seizure, 14th Amendment due process. Represented police officers. I've sued police officers, or my clients have at least. I've got broad experience in all 3 areas, and I'm a constitutional lawyer. This court deals a lot with that, and in the next 10 years, I guess everybody's noticed, Collin County is becoming an urban county. We're no longer a little backwater county. One of my partners said today, you should start your presentation with, "This ain't Mayberry anymore." We've got huge businesses moving in here. There's going to be a lot of very extensive, very complex litigation coming down the pipe, and I'm the only one that's ever done that. Judge Rush has never had a family law case. He's never had a civil case, except as a judge.
Okay. With that influx into the county, and even from some of those individuals and organizations that are here, there's a lot of money in this county, and running for any office tends to be expensive. Tell me about financing a campaign like this, and specifically campaign contributions from other attorneys or from organizations who derive most of their contributions from attorneys.
I'm not sure what the question is. I've received campaign contributions from virtually every corner of business and the legal profession. I'm not afraid to take any of those. I don't think it's going to influence my decision making when I'm on the bench. I can't imagine how it would. But I think the way the Ethics Commission has it set up right now, there's a limited amount of money you can take from each person. So that keeps Ross Perot from funding my whole campaign because he knows he's going to be in my court someday. It's a $2,500 limit per person, just for all of you that brought your checkbooks. My law firm gave me $15,000, which is the most they can give me, and I tease them that they gave me that money because they're trying to get rid of me. So,
okay. So you basically go by the statutory limits by individuals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a threshold? And again, this is me not as a lawyer, just as a citizen wondering, if I were to be a party to a case that you were hearing, how would I know of the attorneys present who may or may not have contributed to, not specifically you, but a judge's campaign? How does an individual know that?
Well, you have to do a little digging on the internet. The Texas Ethics Commission has reports that the candidates have to file. The first report is due this Friday. In that report, you have to specify who gave you money, how much they gave you, their occupation, their address, their phone number. So the information is out there, easy to find if you know where to look for it, like most of the stuff on the internet.
Okay. Now, you mentioned cases that you've had that have gone to the Supreme Court. One in particular that you're especially proud of?
Well,
And
They
the outcome?
well, they've all been civil rights cases. No, I can't pick any one. The one that stands out the most in my mind is probably a case that came out a few years ago where I'm trying to think of which one I should tell you about. The Fourth Amendment says that when police serve a warrant at your house, they have to knock on the door. The only exception to that is if they get a warrant from a judge saying they can do a no-knock entry, or they have exigent circumstances when they get there. The police in this case, I represented the guy who got shot by the SWAT team. The police in this case decided that they would be able to use the SWAT team just because the guy had guns in his house. Okay, so that's a juxtaposition from the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, especially Heller versus DC that says you can have a working firearm in your house, against the Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and have the police at least knock on the door and give you a chance to get up and get dressed before they search your house. I thought the Supreme Court would take that case. I had 21 amicus briefs by various civil rights organizations that wrote to the Supreme Court to ask them to take that case, and they didn't take it. So now, if you have a gun in your house, you are subject to having your door kicked in to serve a search warrant, and the police are going to get away with it. That, to me, is the most significant case I've had in the last 10 years, and I couldn't believe the Supreme Court didn't take it.
Okay, thanks. One other, back to, I guess, a more kind of personal angle on things. You know, we talked a moment ago about how there's the potential for financial contributions to, I won't say influence, but you know, those are part of financing campaigns. But there's so much more. I mean, there's everything that goes into how a person becomes who they are, their past experiences and such. Are there any particular personal past experiences that you draw on in your work as an attorney or hope to as a judge?
Well, at a really high level, I mean, I grew up with the name of Pikl, and I was always smaller than everybody in my class. I got picked on a lot, and I hate bullies. Okay, I just hate bullies. I don't care if they're government bullies, private bullies. I don't care if they're big businesses bullying somebody that's in a small company. I don't care if they're big companies bullying consumers. I don't care who it is. I hate bullies. And that's why I went to law school, because I hate bullies. And I wanted to right some wrongs in this world, and I think I've done that a lot in my career. And I think as a judge, it gives me a unique, kind of a special opportunity to do right and keep bullies in their place, and that's what I intend to do.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to do also with this forum that was a little bit different from last time was to be sure that we had enough time to take a couple of questions from the audience, because sometimes things that you and I talk about evoke questions out there as well. So now's the chance if you guys have any particular questions that you'd like to ask. Yes?
What percentage of this district court for which you are running is family law cases?
And if you would repeat that question. Or I will. What percentage of the cases that will be going to this particular court will be family law cases?
Since I'm running for the court, I actually looked up the statistics. I'm an economist and a mathematician, so I'm kind of a geek. And I'm an appellate lawyer, so I'm even more of a geek, so I love numbers. Here's some numbers for you. My opponent says that in this court, 60% of the docket is criminal. You might hear that in a few minutes. It's a little bit of a misleading statistic, and here's why. Of those 60% of the cases, yes, they start with state of Texas versus somebody, but 90% of those plead out, which means they're done in auxiliary court, and the judge of the 401st never even sees them. The other 10%, half of those are crimes against children, and there's a special CAC court for those. So the percentage of cases that the judge actually touches in the 401st that are criminal is 4%. The percentage that is family cases is 72%. All of the ones in the last 12 months in the 401st were bench trials. No jury trials in family. There were 253 of them. 99% of those are what we call prove-ups, which is where the person who wants a divorce comes in, stands in front of the judge. You've probably seen it if you've been in court. My name is X. I've lived in Collin County for 6 months. My marriage has become insupportable due to conflicts or discord of personalities, and there's no reconciliation. They read a script. That's considered a bench trial. That was 253 of them. 83 of the cases were civil cases. They were either disposed of by summary judgment, which is it's a trial on the merits early without going to the end of the case, and actual trials on the merits. So it's 72% are family, 99% of those are prove-ups. 4% are criminal, and 24% are civil. Now, we just got 2 new family courts, dedicated family courts in Collin County, the 469th and the 470th. A lot of the judges, I think, will tell you that they're trying to shift a lot of cases, family cases, to those courts because they're specialized courts. They can't hear anything else. If we take all the family cases out of the 401st, I know that's not going to happen. Let's say for a minute we take them all out. Just civil and criminal. 85% of the cases are civil. 14% are criminal. So if anybody tries to tell you that this court is a majority criminal, beware, because that statistic is a little bit misleading when you actually drill down into what these cases are and what the judge is actually hearing. And my opponent has 0 experience with civil cases and 0 experience with family cases except as a judge. And I've tried and done appeals on all 3.
Okay. Another question? Now, there's got to be lawyers, judges, somebody. I know a lot of people are sitting on questions thinking, no, I'm going to hold on to this one. All right. Okay. Thank you very much.